Hi everyone, Ed here. In this Autocross data series, I'm hoping to describe and highlight how we use data to improve our driving in Autocross. This video is for someone looking to get into data acquisition for Autocross, or for those who already use data but don't know exactly what to do with it, or would like to just see how others use it as a tool. We'll be using SoloStorm as our data logging program, but I hope these videos translate to other apps as well, like Tracked Addict and Harry's Lap Timer. In this video, I'm hoping to go over data from our most recent March 4th, 2018 CalClub Autocross in Fontana, California. This data is going to be between myself, my co-driver Leonard, and our friend and competitor Dennis. So here right now you see is the data logging screen. In order to get into the logs, you hit Analyze at the right top corner, and then into Logs, and you'll be able to select which runs you want to compare. So I've already selected the three of our fastest runs. So you just you check them like that, and then we can go into them. All right, so as I said before, this is between myself, my co-driver Leonard, and our friend Dennis. We compete in E Street. My co-driver and I run a 2003 Toyota MR2 Spyder, and Dennis drives a 99 Miata Sport. That day was pretty chilly. It was in the mid-50s, but it was dry. We were on the BFGs while Dennis were on the Bridgestones. So here you see the data analysis screen. This is my usual setup for event days. On the right is the course map. You can see our names listed on top. Dennis is in red, Leonard is in green, and I'm in orange. On the left, we have RPM trace, throttle trace, and longitudinal G trace. We choose that on purpose, but if you want to change it up, you just click and hold the side, the vertical bar on the left-hand side, and it'll pull up a menu like this. Then you can add things like speed, time delta, lateral acceleration, stuff like that. We really choose these three metrics on purpose. We chose RPM over GPS miles per hour because honestly the RPM is more accurate than the GPS speed sensors, because the GPS speed sometimes goes all wacky when you go around a corner. And since we don't have any kind of a brake sensor, in order to see how hard we're braking or how light we're braking, we use the longitudinal G as a metric. So that's the bottom left trace. But anyways, so on that particular day, let me pull up the results real quick. Okay, so Leonard came first that day, Dennis was second, and I was third, okay, out of a class of 8. Leonard had a 42.117. Dennis had a 42.578. And I had a 42.648. So, all three of us were within half a second of each other. But let's see, where that half second is in terms of our data. So I'm going to let the video run first from the beginning to the end, and I'm going to go back and discuss sections. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here first, and I'm going to let it run. All right? 1, 2, 3, go. So the three crosshairs represents our cars, obviously. And the traces is our position on the track. As I recall, that was a very open track. It was a very open course on that day. But it was a second year course. There were no shifts to third. Okay, all right. Let's scroll back. So Leonard got both of us by about 0.4, 0.5 seconds that day. And really, if you look at the data, that boils down to about 2 sections of this course, okay? I'm going to skip to it right now. So they are basically from section 5 all the way to section 6 and 7. That's where he really put distance between us. So if you look, so we're pretty much even coming out of this corner. And right past section 4, past section 5, he starts to pull away. In section 6 and 7, he has a huge gap. And we were never able to close that gap after that. So here it is. So let me describe this course a little bit. So if you haven't been to Fontana, there is a hill on one side and majority of the field is flat. But for this course, sections 3, 4, 5 are at the top of the hill. It's not a very tall hill, but there is a little bit of camber change. So here, from 1 to 2 is a big sweeper, and 2 to 3 is I want to say a decreasing radius turn. 3, 4, and 5 have offset gates. 5 and 6 is a sweeper into a 5-cone slalom between 6 and 7. And the slalom is pretty open. It's at least 60 feet, probably more than that. And then the last turn, 7 and 8, that's a 90-degree left-hander into the finish line. Second gear course, no shifts to third, very open. And the results show that it was a power-friendly course. So Camaros, Vets, they did really well, and the lower powered cars suffered a little bit. But let's take a look at right here why Leonard was able to pull away from us between sections 5 and 6. So if you see here, this is really telling. If you look at the throttle trace on the left-hand side, you see the 2 big blips of throttle. I mean, Dennis had some too, but not as big as Leonard. And if you compare the throttle trace to his RPM trace, Leonard was able to keep the engine at higher revs, which equals more speed through this fast section. So for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna select the speed channel. Sometimes it's not very accurate, but I think it's okay here. So right here, let's see. Leonard's speed through this section is about, 54, 55 miles an hour. Dennis was second quickest, 51, 52, and I was about 48, 49 through the section. So here, past this section, he already had a huge gap on both of us. Into the left sweeper then. If you look at the throttle trace again, Leonard was on the gas way earlier than both of us. And thus, RPM is higher, overall speed is higher, And in that section, what he gained, if you look at the splits, minus 0.276. So he pulled like what, 0.3 seconds away from Dennis in that section alone, and another 0.06 in the following slalom section. But there's a more telling aspect to this section if you look at the longitudinal G. So longitudinal G is basically G forces going forward and backwards, right? So if it's positive, if it's like above zero, you're accelerating. If it's below zero, you're braking, you're decelerating. So here, neither me nor Dennis really braked for this left sweeper. So, you know what, I was like, what, minus 0.2 Gs. And Dennis was minus 0.4 Gs. But if you look at Leonard's trace, he had a huge brake right here, minus 0.8 Gs. So he was able to slow down, get the car properly turned, take a tight line, and then get on the gas a lot earlier than both of us. And that is, together with section 4 and 5, that's like 0.1, 0.3, and 0.06. So that's 0.4 right there, thereabouts. All right, so what are the takeaways for this particular course? Well, first, Leonard was able to gain time in the high-speed section between 4 and 5 by getting on throttle more, the two big blips. That gained 0.1 seconds, a tenth. And second, Leonard was able to gain time in a key sweeper before a long slalom by braking and settling the car, taking a tighter line. If you see the green line right here, it's a lot tighter. And then getting on the throttle the earliest, by far the earliest, right here. If you look at the throttle traced on the left, that is a 0.3 second gain in that corner alone. So a tenth leading up to that sweeper, 3/10 in that sweeper, and maybe half a tenth in the slalom afterwards, equated to pretty much the reason why he won that day. So anyways, I hope you found this video useful, and thanks for watching.